welcome to the quick little talk we're doing today on how to become a doula. We're going to talk about what it's like to be a doula. We will talk about what it is to be a MaternityWise doula and what we do. And I'm Anne. I'm the director of MaternityWise, Anne Wallen, and MaternityWise has a lot of layers. So we have me as the director, but we also have admin people, we have trainers, we have mentors, we have study group leaders. A couple of people will probably pop on today, but we do have already, we have one of our main people that you'll be communicating with a lot probably is Hillary. She's one of our first point of contacts for people, and also a trainer, and also a mentor, and also a curriculum contributor, Hillary Colson. And Morgan is one of our most important people also. She is a study group leader. You will undoubtedly interact with her at some point as well. And we have a bunch of other people who probably may or may not actually pop in or not, but you'll definitely in your journey, if you become a doula with MaternityWise, you will interact with a lot of different people with us. We have a lot of different layers of support because that's really important. When we train doulas, one of our kind of mindsets in doing it is that we want to doula the doulas to be. So just like you're going to go on and be doulaing families, we want to doula our students. So we're kind of setting the pace and setting the tone to what you'll be doing eventually in your own practice. So we want to nurture the doulas just like you'll be nurturing families. So I'm going to do a little PowerPoint presentation just so that I can stay on task, because this is obviously something that I love, something that I do, and I'm really good at getting off onto tangents. We call it TLC learning around here. It's called tangent-led communication, TLC. So I'm going to use a PowerPoint to kind of help keep me on track. So let me pull that up real quick. I'm going to share my screen. And so a day in the life. Can you guys see the photos, or is I can't ever remember. Do you guys see the whole screen, or do you see, are you seeing the pictures of people on the side?
Whole screen with the little previews of the next slides. So you need presenter view.
Oh, you see the previews of the next slides too?
Yes,
ma'am. Let me get out of that for a second. Let me try this again. Now do you see it?
There she is. It's perfect.
Okay. Okay, so a day in the life. So one of the things and I'm just going to share a little bit more about me as a doula and what a day in the life is like for me. And Hillary, if you don't mind sharing a little bit, when I'm done, sharing a little bit more about what a day in the life is like for you. And Morgan, if you want to pipe in too, that'd be great, just so they have a little bit different perspectives. But my philosophy and our philosophy when we're training doulas is very much about preparation. So I find that the best way that I can serve clients is by preparing them. And so I meet with my clients often before their birth. I don't feel like the pinnacle of my experience with them or my service to them is all about their birth. The most important part of my service to them is the preparation part, because if I don't give them that, then they're not ready for and they're not able to experience their birth in the way that is best for them, right? So preparing is huge. Also, I systemize my business. And so I also, when I'm teaching my doula students, I'm teaching them how to systemize their business, how to set it up so that as you're meeting with them, you're not missing pieces. And I've been doing this. I have 6 kids of my own. I've been doing this for almost 30 years. I've been working as a doula in some form or another almost for 30 years. And so I've learned by making a lot of mistakes over the years. And so I'm trying to, help you guys not to have to reinvent the wheel by, kind of showing you how do you systemize things, how do you make things organized so that you can meet with clients, do the same thing over and over again and not miss out on things with people, but also keeping it customized for each client so that they're feeling, special and treated well by you, but at the same time, you're covering all the things that are important and you're not missing anything simply because you're focusing on what is important for them in that time. You're not missing out on preparing them for the what ifs as well. And then also know your stuff. So it's really important that we don't have to know everything. You won't be able to know everything immediately, right? You're going to learn as you go as well. And every single birth, I've been doing this a long time, right? Every single birth is very different. So I still learn at every birth that I go to. And I continue to learn. I have clients who will come to me with, a rare blood disorder or something. And I'm there researching, trying to figure out, how is this going to impact her birth and what makes sense and what are the ways that I can help her to prepare? What are some realistic options for her? And then also obviously deferring to what her care providers are telling her, but also encouraging her to do her own research and helping her to know, what might be questions worth asking, what might be some alternatives that she could possibly look into. So when I'm working with my clients, I'm meeting with them beforehand. I'm on call for them, and I'm there for them during their birth. And then I'm working with them afterward, probably one or more times, but definitely one time at least to kind of go over and process how the birth went. Then, because I am trained and certified in more than just the birth, I'm there. I don't have to refer them out, for postpartum care, and then also for breastfeeding. So then I can meet with them again for breastfeeding consults if they need, or I can go and I can serve them with postpartum care if they need that. And so all these things, I'm able to give them a well-rounded approach as far as care. And then again, I'm not sending them out to somebody new in that they're not having to tell their story over and over again to other people, perhaps leaving out important details that maybe they don't know are important that could impact the way that they're being cared for. For example, things that go on in their birth could be impacting their breastfeeding experience, but they might not know that, but I would because I was there, right? And so I would be able to see and be able to say, oh, you know what, this could be part of why this part of breastfeeding is not going well. So the continuity of care is really big. I'll stop sharing my screen for just a second. And Hillary, if you want to say anything about kind of what a day in the life of being a doula is like for you.
Day in the life. Yeah, absolutely. I guess I started pregnancy and birth and breastfeeding are my jam. I absolutely love it. So I originally came into the organization like the rest of you. I was a trainee. I initially chose MaternityWise because I loved the philosophy. It was affordable. It was, and my big selling point was that I got my very own mentor throughout the process. So instead of like, congratulations, you took the training, good luck remembering everything that you just learned, I wasn't left alone. So I still had the help after the training and throughout the certification process and after I was certified. So I still use my mentor, who is Anne, and our community of doulas when I run into a weird case as well. And that's one of the things that I really love about being a doula is that it is never just a normal day at the office. Everybody's different. Every birth is different. Every family is different. Before MaternityWise, I was already a certified doula. I just never felt prepared enough to actually walk into a birth and like do the thing. So I did one of our 3-day workshops kind of in hopes that I guess some additional hands-on would help me out. So I went through the training. I met a ton of really cool people along the way, and I felt a lot more confident in my skills leaving. So that first birth after, I was a little anxious walking in the door, but I knew that I had Anne in my back pocket if I needed her. And then about 5 minutes in, I was working it like I'd been doing this for years. There's a thing called imposter syndrome that a lot of us kind of have to get around walking in, but once you do it, you're in and you're doing like all the good things. I mean, as far as a day in the life, I mean, it's never a normal day at the office. No, again, no two births are the same. No two families will ever be the same. I'm literally never bored, which is super helpful because I'm constantly learning new things. And we've built this tremendous community of doulas who are super supportive. And we're all kind of rooting for each other. And that's definitely something that I never had in my other job. So it's my very favorite thing as far as a day in the life, because it's never just a day in the life. I know that was kind of a non-answer answer. I'm sorry.
Fine. That's my favorite thing too. I always say, you know, we only have one really rule in our group of support. You know, we have a lot of women from a lot of different places all over the world, and our one rule is no mean girls. Like, we're not allowed, you know, to be unsupportive. We're not allowed to be mean, right? So, but the fact is everyone is so sweet. And when you have a community of doulas, I mean, women who want to be doulas, or even men, but anyone who wants to be a doula, their personality is just, they're usually just such a lovely person to begin with. You know, just that kind of person who wants to be a doula is already such a lovely type of person. So we have this community of just really sweet, wonderful people. So it's cool. Morgan, did you want to share anything?
Yeah, I think you guys pretty much said it, but I'll just echo you guys, and I'll share that I am a recent certified doula through MaternityWise, and I am the study group leader. And so echoing that is, I cannot agree more with preparation in the beginning for parents, and, as you said, as well as support on the other side of it. And then also we do just keep learning, and that has been a big theme in my life recently, where I am continuing to learn as I walk into new birth situations. And I knew when I joined MaternityWise that the team was amazing, but what I did not know is like the level of support that you do get, and the ongoing support, and then just the contacts that you make, like you said, all over the world is just amazing. I've met a lot of really great people. So
Yeah, I love that. So cool. Thank you for sharing that. All right, let's keep going. And all right, so our philosophy, we try to be anyway, humble and well-rounded, and you know, your families will want you to have all the answers. You're going to become the community go-to. And so it's really important, because you're going to see the end from the beginning and vice versa. And what Morgan pointed out, as far as like being there in the end and being more support in the after, is really important, because you know, a lot of people, when they think about doulas and they think about becoming a doula, they think about the birth as kind of being the end all be all and like this big, very important event. And it definitely is. But if you do any kind of postpartum care at all, you start to learn that actually the afterwards is equally, if not sometimes more important than the birth itself. The birth is, and I love, my midwife used to say this, the birth is 90% plan, 10% crapshoot. So you don't always get to make it turn out to be whatever you want it to be. And yes, having a doula by your side does give you a better shot at it going the way you want it to go, but the doula is not responsible for your outcome, right? And if you all do become doulas, please always hold this in your heart, okay? You are not responsible for the outcome. I feel like sometimes we need to remind ourselves of that, because when we are doulas and we're there, we're so invested in our families and we want the best for them. And sometimes things don't go the way that the mom wants it to go and she's disappointed, or there may even be birth trauma involved. And we feel so terrible and we kind of feel responsible. But it's not up to us how the birth is going to go, right? We do our best and we support her no matter what's happening in the birth, and the outcome is not our responsibility. But helping her pick up the pieces afterward is definitely something that we can do. It's something we can be there. We can be that Band-Aid, that salve that's there to help her heal afterward. And then also we definitely are, the continuity of care. We're there for her when she can't reach her other caregivers. I mean, how many times have you tried to reach your OB or even a midwife or a pediatrician? You call the office, you're put through to a nurse's line, or you're put through to messaging, whatever. And you really, at this day and age, I mean, when my biggest kids, my oldest daughter's almost 30, when my biggest kids were real little, you could maybe call and reach somebody, they'd have the doctor call you back. And nowadays it's like really rare to be able to actually speak to your physician. Definitely not gonna reach your physician when you first call, right? Maybe you're gonna get a little rigmarole, maybe leave a message, maybe somebody will call you back, but it's tough, right? But your doula is gonna be available to you pretty instantly, by text, by phone. So if she can't reach out and get a hold of somebody else, you're probably the next person she's going to try. She's going to reach out to you. And so you being there and having the wealth of knowledge that you do, and the resources that you will, you're it. You're that best next person of care. You're that, postpartum triage, so to speak. And then also the other piece of our philosophy that we bring forth in our trainings is we want you to be business smart, right? We want you to know how to use these skills. We want to give you all the skills and all the best skills possible, right? But we want you to be able to use them. So you're going to need to know how to get your business up and going, and get your business out there and promote it, and not have to spend thousands of dollars on Google to do so. So we teach you, how to do that. Morgan and I just had a really great phone call yesterday about some social media challenges, because social media is free, right? So we're coming up with some really cool, creative ways to help our students to get the word out for their businesses and different things. So we already teach you a lot of different things that are free or low cost ways to get the word out about your business. Directories that are out there, ways to manipulate those directories to make sure that you're winding up, the search results at the top or near the top, and just other ways to help spread the word. Once you get going in the community, you're going to find that a lot of your referrals and everything come from word of mouth, and that's amazing. But when you are first starting, getting that momentum is tough, but we're going to help you, okay? And then also, obviously you don't want to be losing income to referrals, right? You want to be using all your skills so that you can be providing that continuity of care and maintaining those clients, not necessarily upselling, but not having to refer people out, not losing that income. You can, if you have those skills, then you could provide those services, right? So that is also along the lines of what we believe should be what you're doing. So the process of certification, let's talk about that. The in-person track is where you would attend a workshop in person. If you want to travel to a workshop, that's your best option if you want to attend a workshop in person. Some of our workshops, most of them, I would say, if they're not in a city where one of our trainers live, most of our workshops we rent like an Airbnb or something like that. And the reason we do that is because it's really it's more cost effective, like more cost efficient for our trainer to rent an Airbnb, stay at the Airbnb, host the training at the Airbnb. We provide lunches there. It's comfortable. There's probably good parking, bathrooms. and then if there's people coming from out of town, usually there's some extra bedrooms in the house. And then, so that's usually a good option for us to provide a training. And an in-home type setting is also way more comfortable for this kind of topic to be discussed, right? Because it's pretty intimate information that we're sharing. And, if you're in a boardroom setting in a hotel, like, I don't know, it's just, I find, and I've been doing this a long time, I find that doing it in a large living room with lots of couches, it's just so much more comfortable to do it. And I feel like we learn better in that way too. So you do the workshop in person, you still have some assignments to complete. Okay, and then the virtual track, that would be where you're watching virtually a live workshop as it's being broadcast. You'd be attending that way. And then you still also have those remaining assignments. I'm going to get to that in a second. Or you have the self-study track. And the self-study track is where you basically are watching a pre-recorded workshop and then you complete the other assignments. So the other assignments, let me just see. Okay, so your other, oops, went too far, sorry guys. Oh golly, I really went too far. Oh my gosh, what did I do? So sorry guys. I think when I was clicking it and I thought I was going backwards, I was going the opposite direction. Okay, so your assignment checklist. So you're gonna attend a workshop, whether you are attending it in person, virtually, or through the self-study, which is a recorded one. You're gonna attend a workshop. Then you're also going to attend a difficult scenario call, which is usually a Zoom. Sometimes we do a conference call where you can just call in by phone, but usually it's a Zoom. And then also attend your e-classes, and those are by Enjoy. We give you the links for that. They're basically like an online class. It's set up as a childbirth ed class. You're going to read books. So you have some books to read. For labor, there's 3 books. For postpartum, there's 2, and for lactation, there's 3. For labor, one of the books is very illustration heavy, so don't worry about the amount of reading that you're doing. It's one of the books, I've been told, I found that it was very interesting, so it didn't take me long to read it, but I've been told only one of the books is a little more hard to get through. Otherwise, the Ina May book, you'll sail through because it's super interesting, a fast read, very good. One's very illustration heavy, and then one is a little more textbooky, but it's still good. You'll write several assignments. So you're going to write reviews on the books, and what you write for the books, you're going to say, this is the main theme of the book. This is what I learned from the book, and this is how it's going to impact my practice. Okay. Your opinion papers for labor, your opinion paper is the role of the labor doula in a home birth setting and the role of a labor doula in a hospital setting. The opinion papers would be for postpartum is the same, basically, the role of a postpartum doula. Mm-hmm. For lactation, the role of a lactation support person. You would have anatomy terms that you're going to define, and then lastly, you have some essay questions for each certification as well. There's, I believe, 7 to 8 essay questions, and they can be answered within about a paragraph. If you're super, like passionate about one of the questions, you might take longer than a paragraph to answer it, but most of the essay questions can be answered in about a short paragraph, just a few sentences. And we also tell you guys, like, don't go hog wild and write pages and pages and pages of essay question answers, because we don't want to read that either. Like, we want you to be succinct, state your knowledge, and be done with it. We don't want you having to spend forever writing, because we also don't want to spend forever reading. Sorry, but that's just the truth. Okay. And then lastly, you'll be supporting 3 families through whatever phase that you're certifying through. So if it's just labor, you'll be serving 3 families just through labor. If you're working with, if you're going to do all 3, if you're doing labor, postpartum, and lactation, which is what we encourage you to do so that you're giving that full spectrum of care, you can use the same 3 families for all of it. All right, and that's more efficient, and it's also better for the families that you're serving too, that they're getting all the, all the care. And so other logistics. Oh, so this pricing is slightly off. Let me tell you what the correct pricing is. So the self-study is actually $975. So sorry about that. The self-study is actually $975. The virtual, I believe, is $1275. So that's a little bit better. And then the in-person, depending on location, that price is correct. It's $1475 or $1650, $1675, depending on where. And then we take payment plans. So typically you would be able to do it's usually like $475 is the deposit, regardless of which one you're doing, it's usually $475. And then the remainder would be paid in chunks. And we do payments like every other Friday. So for example, the self-study is $475 and then $125 every other Friday. So you would just, whichever one you're in. So for 4 payments, you would do $475 plus $125 every other Friday for the self-study. The virtual, if it was $1275, it would be $475 plus $200 every other Friday for 4 payments. So you see what I mean? You just would break it down. And if you need it broken down differently or more, let us know because we're flexible. But that's the typical payment plan. And then a lot of times other people will ask, how long will it take? And here's your kind of your breakdown for that. Usually it's, anytime, anywhere between, so it's typically 21 hours for the workshop because it's 3 days and it's usually about 7 hours each day. Well, I shouldn't say that because sometimes it's 9 to 6. So that might be longer actually some days. Some of the in-person ones are a little longer. The reading and that can take 60 to 70 hours depending on how quick your reading is, and then 10 to 15 hours of writing. Most of the time people finish each certification within 2 to 3 weeks. So that means to finish everything, if you're really dedicated to it, you could get it done within 2 to 3 months. That is typical. Most people, if they really, put their mind to it and they say, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to get it done, it's between 2 and 3 months, usually not longer than 3 months. The thing that takes people a little bit longer is when they are working with the families. I always joke and say, you can chase down all the pregnant ladies at the grocery store, but it doesn't mean they're going to hire you or let you come and be with them for your 3, evaluated births. But you can position yourself and, set yourself out there and say, hey, let's say you're signing up right now. You can say, hey, I'm looking for families that are due in July, August, September. I need 3 families for my certification. I'll be, supporting those families for free, blah, 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 however you want to word it. And you can usually find people within the time period that you're looking for, especially if you're offering for free. And then, of course, that starts off your word of mouth. If you need to charge something, we don't tell you that you have to do it on a volunteer basis, but it's just easier and faster when you aren't already doing it. It's easier and faster to offer it for free. If you do need to charge something, we recommend that you charge, kind of what it's going to cost you to do it. And then once you're done getting your certification, then venture out into what's going to be profitable, right? And I strongly recommend that you charge yourself at the top of the market pricing. So once you are certified, definitely you want to be charging near the top of the market because you will be certified in all these different things, not just one thing, not just a labor doula, but you'll be labor and postpartum and lactation. So you can, because you are more valuable, you can be charging more. And if you think about it, with the pricing here, most cities would sustain you if you're charging a package price. You could charge that much for one client, for a package, or close to it, so you could be, for your first client, you could be paying back yourself the investment of your education. And this is an all-inclusive price, by the way. So you don't pay anything in addition to this other than buying your books. But even then, you don't have to necessarily buy them. You can be borrowing them, or you can be getting them from the library. Several of them are on audiobook. And I don't know if you guys get like audiobook credits. I like to get a lot of books on audiobook credits with my Amazon account. So I'll just like delay my delivery and get a credit for a book, and I'll just use it for my books. So I don't know if you guys know how to do that. But, what's your difficulty level? So it's a comprehensive program. It is tough. You will feel challenged at times. We, in the past, were used as a midwifery prep program, and so we are at that level. We're not, I personally have taken doula trainings from different organizations in the past, and I've taken good ones, challenging ones, and I've taken ones that are, I should say I've taken one that was really actually challenging. All the rest of them were really poor and disappointing. But the one that I took that was challenging because of the trainer and who the trainer is. And so we're not your average doula training. And I hear it over and over again from people saying that, they are grateful that they chose our training simply because they feel like they know more than people that they're working with, or people that they encounter. And, their level of knowledge goes above and beyond your average childbirth ed class, which sadly, a lot of doula trainings, that's all you get. And so I'm going to tell you guys my heart now. I really don't believe that we can make an impact in the maternal mortality rate the way that we need to be if all we know is what is taught in a basic childbirth ed class. We need to know more. And not just more, but also, I'm just going to go there, like specifically how there's racial implications that are so blatantly impacting the way that women are not surviving childbirth. We have to understand all of these dynamics and how they're interplaying with medical care and capitalism. And it's way too much to be able to go into here, but you have to understand medical protocols, medical procedures, complementary medicine, alternatives to medical procedures. You have to understand how they can all play nice together, but then you also have to understand biases. You have to understand, how are medical professionals trained, and what are they walking in the room thinking about your client? Even based on what she looks like, even based on her skin color, even based on whatever her socioeconomic status, even based on what insurance is she coming in with? Is she on Medicaid? So there's a lot of factors that are going to come into the birth room with you, with your client, that you need to understand so that you can help your client support. And I'm not going to say advocate because you're not speaking for her, but you need to understand how you can facilitate communication, how you can help her and keep her aware of what's really going on behind the scenes so that she and her partner can be wise to what's happening so that they can make the best decisions as they're in that birthing space. Sorry for the little soapbox. So let me keep going here. All right, so why choose MaternityWise? So you might know already, but there are no specific regulations when it comes to doulas. There's no legal licensure that surrounds doulas. We like it that way. We want to keep it that way because if there were licensures that were required for doulas, it would mean that the people who we are there to help protect our clients from or help our clients navigate, their birth with. They would be in charge of saying who doulas were allowed to be, how we were allowed to practice, what we were allowed to know, what we were allowed to tell our clients. And that would be a problem. That would be a serious conflict of interest. And so since the people who are considered professionals in maternity care are the ones that we're kind of, I don't want to say at odds with, because we're not really at odds with, we should be working together. But since that would be a conflict of interest, we do not want there to be legislation surrounding doula care and our scope of practice and that. So it is our job, or the onus is on us as doula organizations that exist to create the highest possible standards. And so we have an international board certification, which is the highest possible standard you can have without some kind of federally accredited, recognition, right? We are an independent certifying body. So we have accountability to you as our students. You have accountability to us. And we also have independence. So there are organizations out there who are owned by physicians. They're owned by special interest groups. I'm not going to name the organizations, but they're the big ones. There's one really big one that is owned by organizations that have a special interest in keeping doulas practicing a certain way. And we don't believe that that's right. We are not that. Our representation is you. We are accountable to our students, and our students, it's a mutual, it's a family, okay? And also we are independent in that we definitely don't have anybody telling us that we can or cannot teach anything specific. Our accountability is to, what is evidence-based? Like that's our bottom line. We are also recognized globally. We have students all over the world. And so no matter where you go, you're going to hear the name MaternityWise and it's going to be recognized. We've helped found a maternity school in Botswana, which is my heart. So super cool. There's also a maternity center in Liberia that recently opened during quarantine. Actually, they opened, and our wonderful students are helping to create education and care for women there. So just super, super exciting stuff. We also, one of the things that sets us apart is we have a standardized curriculum. Many, if not most of the other organizations out there do not have standardized curriculum. They have like a checklist of things that their trainers are supposed to go over, and their trainers have at will the ability to talk about whatever they want to talk about during their trainings. Ours is a standardized curriculum. And so what that means is that all of our students receive the same training. One organization that I received training from, multiple trainings. Like I said, I had one training that was really great, and that was because the trainer was really great. And I had one training that I was really actually upset that I spent the money that I spent because the training was horrible. And that's because the trainer is pretty horrible. And so across the board with us, you're going to receive the same training from every trainer because we have what's called a standardized curriculum. You also have what's called a mentors assigned, and you have ongoing support in many forms. So I introduced you to Morgan. Morgan is the study group leader. We also have mentors. We have office hours. We have difficult scenarios calls. We have a private Facebook group where people are, able to post things and ask questions. We have just several different layers of support. Each group, as they do a training, creates their own private small group Facebook group so that they can, among themselves, who they know, ask questions and keep that camaraderie. in addition to the big group where they can ask questions among the big group. The next one is kind of funny, but I laugh because we're not a cult. There are organizations out there who act like they're the only legit training organization, right? Have you seen any of those before? They also badmouth other organizations. We are not that way. I don't ever, if I ever hear any MaternityWise doula badmouthing another organization, I would not be very happy about that, because we don't like to do, that sort of thing. However, there are, organizations out there that they want you to use them for, their website design. They want to have you hire them for, it seems like a one-stop shop, but then if you try to stray away from them, then they attack you. So we're not a cult. We're not like that. Like you can get your training through us and never speak to us again. It's okay, like whatever. But hopefully, because we think of our students as family, so hopefully, we are supporting and everything, but we're not acting weird. We don't make you drink Kool-Aid, okay? We've been around since 2002, and we offer programs that aren't available anywhere else, like our Epidoula program. The Epidoula program is one of my babies. I helped write that. I found we started seeing situations, and I actually had a couple of clients where they were saying, yeah, when I got my epidural, my doula left. And then I was there as like their doula for baby number 2, and I was appalled. And I worked in several hospitals. One hospital I worked in, I was also a childbirth educator at the hospital, and the nurses would tell me, yeah, these doulas, they would come in and mom would get an epidural and they would just sit there, or they'd leave, or, they'd be on their phone for hours and hours and hours while mom had an epidural. And they wouldn't be doing anything. They wouldn't be interacting with her again until she started pushing. And I think part of the reason why is because they didn't have any kind of training in what they could be doing once mom got an epidural. And also they didn't understand maybe how important it was for them to continue to support her physically as well as emotionally once she got the epidural. And I personally have found that sometimes when moms get an epidural, it saves the day. Like it can be the thing that keeps her from getting a C-section. Like a lot of doulas have this mentality that, oh, well, if she got an epidural, well, that's it. She's going to have a C-section now. There's nothing I can do. No, no, most likely you can keep her from having a C-section now. Like now's your chance to really move her body and do some things with her that are going to, project her into that, greater potential for a vaginal birth. So we started to really hone in on that and like really create a whole curriculum around that and make sure that, our doulas were getting trained specifically on what to do when you got a client.
We have tabloids on his side.
Epidurals can be that thing that saves the day, actually. So we dedicate a good 6 hours to epidural training. Epidoula is what we call it. Nobody else has that. Nobody else provides that kind of specific support training. Business startup and growth education and support. So we're, again, like, we want you to be able to use these skills. There's no point in you taking all this classes and paying this money and everything if you don't have the ability to get out there and work, right? So we want to teach you how to do that. That's part of all of what you're doing here. And then lastly, I already told you we only have one rule, and that's no mean girls, no mean people. So how do I get clients? People always ask me this, even before they've gotten started, how will I get clients? So finding versus being found. You don't want to be creepy. You don't want to be a stalker. You can offer your services to people, but the fact is when a woman you know, when a family is ready, when a birthing person's ready to go and hire a doula, they are going to go shopping for that doula, right? They're going to go shopping for a doula. You need to be able to be found. So how do you position yourself to be found? Well, that's part of our training. We're going to show you, you know, what does your website, you know, need to say? How do you systemize your paperwork so that when someone does contact you, you can like load them up with the information that they need immediately to help you to close the sale, you know, so that you're not necessarily interviewing. Because I hate the idea of you interviewing, right? Someone contacts you, give them all the information that they need in order to make an informed decision about whether or not they're going to hire you, and then get together with them with the intention that they're hiring you, right? You're not interviewing. And then also, right, like you're also going to learn how to read moms, because part of what helps you to make the sale is what's going to help you to be their best doula. You're going to learn things about how to identify her personality type, how to identify her love language, how to speak her love language, how to best be the you know, provider of support, and because you have to feel really vulnerable, and you have to feel really safe, and you have to feel protected and provided for and understood and everything in order to be able to give birth, right? And so if you can know how to do that and be that for your clients, you're going to be their greatest doula. You're going to be their greatest asset on the birth team. Well, those same skills are going to help you when you're first meeting people and first getting to know them. They're getting to know you. When you have honed those skills and you have understood how to do that, they're going to instantly be gravitating toward you and wanting you as their doula. Okay, so being found and then being able to be that magnet of, yes, you're going to want me to be your doula because I'm just giving off that vibe, right? Networking and word of mouth. So understanding community, how to unify your community, supporting each other, having a mentality of blessing and not scarcity. So oftentimes you'll find that the doula community in different areas will be very catty and cliquey. And the idea is it's very corporate, right? It's very, oh, I have to destroy my competition in order for me to succeed. But that's not true, right? Especially when it comes to doula work. There are the right doula for the right birthing people, you know, your connections are there. And if you have the attitude of the people I'm meant for are going to find me, they will find you, right? And if your idea of I need to get all the clients, you're going to end up taking clients that are going to give you such a headache and so much trouble, and they're going to take up space where your ideal client is no longer going to have space to come in, right? Because it's being taken up by the ones that are not good for you. So you want to have this mentality, not scarcity of like, I need to get all the clients, but the mentality of blessing, the mentality of I'm going to attract the right clients. And, you know, I want you to be pricing yourself really, really well. If you're pricing yourself really crappy, people that want a budget doula, sometimes the people that want a budget doula are the people that are really not easy to work with. The people that understand and value what a doula brings to them, they are going to be the easier ones to work with. And not only that, but when you set your prices high, then you have space so that people that can't afford you, but you feel a good connection with, you can lower your price for those people. And it's not going to hurt your bottom line. You can afford to do that. You feel me? So it's that mentality of I can be flexible with my pricing. I'm going to charge top dollar, but I can be affordable. I mean, I can be flexible with my pricing because I can afford to, because I know that the right people will come to me. Also, digital positioning. So making sure you have a good website, making sure that you have an online social presence, being listed in directories and knowing how to manipulate those directories so that your listing shows up high. Also participation in groups. Hillary always talks about this when she's doing her part of, because when we do trainings, we tag team. So there's usually 3 of us, sometimes 4, and we teach all of us. It's not just one trainer who's teaching you, right? So you're getting a bunch of faces and a bunch of perspectives and a bunch of voices, right? And Hillary usually will talk about, going online and being a resource to people online, not just going online and saying, hey, I'm a doula, hire me, pick me, pick me, pick me. She's talking about like going online and being a resource, saying, hey, I saw your post on teething. I've got some ideas. Hit me up in the chat and I'll, share with you some ideas that you have, or even just listing what your ideas are on the message board so that people see you as an expert and they don't necessarily see you as just this greedy, needy, person who's just constantly posting that you want whatever. But you can respond, hey, I'm a doula and I deal with these kind of problems all the time. This is what we typically will do, blah, 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 and then maybe somebody who isn't that poster but is looking for a doula sees your answer and says, oh, this is a nice, friendly person and I like the way she answered that. Maybe I'll contact her about doula services, right? So you're putting yourself out there in a non-threatening, non-salesy way. So let's keep rolling. By your side. So here's some of our people that you will encounter. So there's me. I smoothed my hair out that day. Normally my hair is curly craziness like this. It's humid today, so I didn't even bother trying to straighten it because it's not going to happen. Steph, she's one of the founding trainers. She's also our diversity and oh my gosh, diversity. What was the E and then inclusion? Oh my word, my brain fart. Hillary, help.
Equality.
Equality. Thank you. I was going to say equity, and I'm like, I know that's not right.
No, it is equity. It is equity.
It is equity, right?
Yeah, it is
Okay.
equity.
So she is at present, she is putting together yet another training piece for us with the different aspects about the maternal mortality rate and how to basically, I guess I can't speak for her, but basically thoughts on how race impacts the maternal mortality rate and what we as doulas can do to prepare our clients, but also in the moment, ways that we can communicate, facilitate communication. There's Hillary. There's Amber. She's also one of the co-founders. She's a board member. She's super, super diplomatic. So one of the things that she does really well is handling grievances, which we don't really ever have any. But anytime someone has like a question about what should I do with this client of mine, they have a problem with the way that I handled their birth, or they don't like my contract, or I'm having a squabble with a client, our students can go to her for advice with, more of the interpersonal, like legal type matters. She's not a lawyer, but she's very wise. And so she can kind of help them to think through difficult scenarios that might come up between a doula and their client. And so in that way, she's a great mentor for things like that. Kate is one of our trainers. She's all things natural. She's a mother of 12. She's ridiculously knowledgeable about nutrition and gardening and herbs and just everything you can imagine. She's got an answer for it. This is Ruth. She does a lot of our finance, pretty much all of our finance stuff. So any payment plans, you're going to encounter her. Megan, she's a trainer. She's also working with Simone on a cannabis doula workshop, which I'm super excited. I can't wait to go through that. And also, Megan has created the HIPAA training. She's working up on a bloodborne pathogens training. She just also finished, I think about a year ago, an insurance claims training, insurance and doulas. which is so amazing, so detailed, and such a great resource. Holy cow. Rachel, she's like our main Facebook moderator, but she's also a trainer, and she also works for March of Dimes, and she's doing centering groups, but her main thesis was all about racial inequality and maternal care. And she's another one that's very phenomenal when it comes to just understanding inroads in that and understanding where there's disparities and teaching on that and digging deep in how we can make a change. And Simone is a newer trainer. Love that chick. She's here in New York with me. She's actually my backup doula. She's just becoming a trainer, and she used to be a soft skills trainer for corporate America. So she's kind of gonna help work on some things that we're offering. I'm excited to see what she brings. So here's ways to get in touch with us, and you can go to our website. You can take a look at the different types of trainings that we offer. But please, what questions do you have for us? And I couldn't see people while I was in the PowerPoint. So if you all had, I didn't look at the chat. So if you all had things in the chat, let me really quick look.
It's all me talking to myself.
Oh, right. And you're right. It's not the same quality. Yes, thank you. Oh, golly. I know you're talking about Megan when you say
it's 100% Megan. It's the most amazing cook ever. If you need a recipe for literally anything, Megan is your person.
You guys, we had a training in Atlanta, and every flipping day,
4 loaves of bread she made per day, and they got eaten. Oh my God.
We were carb loaded.
I was very bloated when I got home.
Started every day. It was amazing. We were all just fat and happy when we finished that training.
Yeah.
It was awesome. All right. Well, ask your question.
Go over one question that I get asked probably for 80% of the people that go through the beginning stages, and it's how do you integrate yourself into the doula community while you're still maintaining your current employment?
Oh, yeah.
I know a lot of people have jobs right now, and you can't just take the training and just go, right? That would be amazing, but that's not always the way it goes, because you have to build this. So we all kind of know that we can't prepare when somebody goes into labor, and we certainly can prepare to some degree on how many clients you take at one time. So for example, you may say you work full-time, you have so many vacation days or so many sick days. I'm not saying to lie and call in sick, but it's it's up to you as far as how that dynamic goes. Or you can have a really awesome boss who may think that it's awesome that you're bettering yourself, and hey, that you call in last minute once in a while. For me, while maintaining current employment status, and I was working full-time, I feel most comfortable taking a birth every month, every 2 months. 2 months is my comfort level. I'll take 1 a month if I have to. Or if you don't have a flexible schedule, or you aren't able to take off any time, or you have to do evenings or weekends or something like that, start postpartum. You don't have to start with birth. So, we have doulas. In fact, one of our trainer, Megan, is solely a postpartum doula. And I swear it's because she's such an amazing cook. She can make a remedy for anything. And she started postpartum, and she is thriving. So that first jump is hard, but there's a lot of flexibility for how you kind of set up those building blocks for your business. You will very much be able to make this your business, because the chances are the people that you're going to be dealing with, especially in the beginning, they don't really know what a doula is. They just know that they want one. So you need to have a quick elevator speech, right, on what a doula does. But what you really need is to be, you're selling yourself. This is your business, and we want it to be you and yours alone. So, you know, we give you all the tools to create a sustainable business model, and you have all those tools to rock that out, regardless of whether or not you want to jump all the way in.
Let me also say that, you know, babies typically come on nights and weekends. If you leave them alone, if you're not inducing, you know, inductions are Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. But if babies are coming on their own, they're typically nighttime and weekends. But yes, you can, and not only that, you can get started working with families months. You will probably get started working with families months before they're due. So it's not like you're quitting your job today because you have a birth due in September. You know, so you don't necessarily have to quit everything in order to be a doula coming up. And like Hillary said, doing postpartum, I had little kids in the beginning. I did some births, but I did mostly postpartum in the beginning because I had little kids and I did overnights. So I would send my kids, you know, to bed, say goodnight to the sitter, head out. I'd be at my clients from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I'd come home, get my kids ready for school, send them off to school, and go to sleep. My kids, I didn't get a full night's sleep for maybe 10 years. I don't know, but I, you know, that's how I did it. So Delia, did you have a question?
Yes. Hi, good evening. Thank you. I was more interested in taking the postpartum, but listening to the induction of this meeting today, you had made suggestion that we should try to do all three if we can economically. Would even if I didn't want to, would that still kind of like hinder my knowledge of doing a postpartum?
So you could definitely do only postpartum. There's nothing wrong with just doing only postpartum, but I'll be honest with you, I feel like I'm better at postpartum because I know labor, and I'm definitely better at postpartum because I know breastfeeding, because most of my postpartum moms, I'm also doing breastfeeding anyway while I'm there. Money-wise, if you buy the postpartum, if you were to buy another one on top of it, you're basically paying more than if you just paid for the combo anyway. So you may as well just pay for the combo. Even if you don't finish the certification for everything, you can still at least go through the workshop portion for the labor so that you're getting that knowledge, and then finish the certification for the things that you want to finish it in. And then, you know, you can go forward from there. But yeah, I would say definitely the more well-rounded you are, the better care you can provide.
Okay, so I can go back, like if I did the postpartum, then I can go back and take the other courses.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm going to go back on the chat because I can see that there's a few questions here that I want to make sure I address. So Jamila asked, are we able to attend in-person seminar if you're registered for the self-led? Yes, you can. If you register for the self-led and you decide you want to go to, and I recognize your name, Jamila, by the way, I know you're in the self-study. So if you want to take an in-person, you're just going to pay the difference. That's all. So just shoot me an email or shoot Hillary an email. We'll figure out what you need, whichever one you want to go to and what your difference is. And then Ruth can send you a payment plan or whatever for the difference. And we can, you know, send you an invoice or we'll handle it. But yes, you can start out doing that and then switch over and that's fine.
And another quick note on whether to take one or to take all. You can buy the combo and you can submit, if you wanted to start postpartum, you can submit postpartum alone and keep working on the rest of it as you're going. So you don't have to submit all three credentials at the same time. You can certainly do them in 3 different emails. You will still be on a time limit, as far as the time limit, as far as what it takes to complete everything. So like Anne said, most take 2 to 3 months. That's like a normal time frame. If you're working full time, it may take you 6 months, and that's okay too. Your e-classes, those are a year from your first login, and those we can extend them, but you're gonna have to pay to extend them. So do those first 100%, is even if you're not planning on submitting all at the same time, get those out of the way. You have 18 months for your written work. So you have time, and then we will still afford an extension, but the extensions, unfortunately, you do have to pay for it. So if you can get it done within that first 18 months and get it all, and we'll help you every step of the way. We give you all the tools. We want you to be successful. Like that's the best compliment to us, is when we see those credentialing packets come in. It's so exciting.
We love it.
Yes, it's like the best thing ever. So just you don't have to go all in all at once. So if you did want to get the bundle discount, you can still do it.
Okay, so the next question in the chat was, are insurance or are doula services covered by insurance? And the answer is yes, no, and all the in-between. So yes, it can be. It depends on the person's plan. It depends on your certification status. It depends on a bunch of different things. It's very complicated. So we recommend that you take the insurance class, honestly. It's worth every penny. It's a complicated process to help your clients to submit for reimbursement, but the bottom line is you're not going to get into contracts with the insurance company. You don't want to do that, because then the insurance company will be able to dictate how much you're allowed to make. So you don't want to do that. And also then the insurance company will also be able to limit what you can do. And always just stick with private pay. But then your clients can go ahead and seek reimbursement. You can provide them with claim forms. You can provide them with your MPI number and the CPT codes and all that stuff. And there's a whole process, right? There's a whole process to go through. There's codes and different things that you need to know and need to know how to process. But many times, even when a client's insurance says no, doula services are not covered, many times they will still reimburse for it, even if it's just on a percentage. So most of the time, a doula will be covered as an out-of-network provider, which means depending on the person's deductible and their coverage scheme, they may cover it 80%, they may cover it 60-40. Most of my clients that I have worked with that we've sought reimbursement, we've gotten paid 100% reimbursed. But it's because we did it a certain way and we went through certain steps. And, like I said, it's super complicated, and I'm not going to try to get into it here now because it's going to open up way more questions than it's going to answer. But long and short, yes, most of the time they'll cover it, but you've got to do it a certain way in order to get them to cover it. And again, it depends on their plan, and it depends on how you do it. You have to be certified. You have to show certain things. You have to do certain things in order to get it covered. Are all 3 labor, postpartum, and lactation all included in the online program price, or are they separate? So the $975 self-study combo, that is the combo. Labor, postpartum, and lactation. And epidoula is part of the labor program. So that is all part of the combo. If you do, so the way that we have it, because we believe in that continuity of care, right? We believe so strongly in that every client, every student that comes through our programs, we want you to take the combo. When you're doing an in-person workshop, when you're doing a virtual workshop, we only teach those as combos because we believe that that's the best way to impact that maternal mortality rate. And that's what we're after. Like, that's our heart, that's our goal. That's why we exist, right? We exist to impact the birthing outcomes in a positive way, okay? And we believe that that's the best way to do it. If you want just one program at a time, you can certainly do that. It's available on our website. They are available as self-study programs, and they are available individually. So if you want just the individual programs, go to our website, click on shop or store, shop, I think, and look there. It's got individual programs. Otherwise, we really teach them in a combination. And it's so efficient to do it that way, because if you were to take them all individually, you would hear things on trauma 3 different times. You would hear things on business 3 different times. You would hear things on, you know, the impact of breastfeeding, the impacts of trauma on breastfeeding, or whatever. You would hear the same thing over and over again. Whereas when you take them all 3 in one, these things that would be taught in each are taught just one time, right? Because they are all in the one, right? So it's efficient. It just makes more sense. So definitely makes sense to do the combo. Okay. When do you pick a family? You can start working with families at any time. Some people come to us and they say, I just found out that what I've been doing all this time is called a doula. And actually, when I started working as a doula, I was like, oh, I've been doing that already. And I didn't know. Well, we were calling ourselves birth assistants, birth coaches, labor coaches, partners, whatever, back in the 90s, early 90s. We weren't called doulas back then. Only in the late 90s where we started to call doulas. Like, we weren't even, that term wasn't even used. And I was in midwifery training, and there were other doulas, other midwifery students working, attending births, and they said that they were working as a doula. And I was like, you're getting paid to do that? You're a what? It was awesome, because I was like, I'm already doing that. You mean I can actually get paid to do that? That's amazing. So I started to, you know, get paid. I started to call myself, you know, we've had a title. So if you have already been finding yourself doing this, let's say you were with your sister or your friend or whatever, and you were working as a doula, or you supported her in the role of a doula, that's great. You can use anyone. We're the only program that does this, by the way. You can use anyone from the previous 18 months, from the time you submit your certification packet. So let's say you enroll right now, and in 3 months, you get done with all your assignments, but 6 months ago, you attended your sister's birth. She can count. If she fills out your evaluation form, she can count as one of your evaluated births. Okay, does that make sense? So anybody from the previous 18 months, from the time that you fill out your form and apply for your credentials, 18 months prior. You don't have to have, you know, it's good, it's useful. It will make you a better doula to have really good, skilled training. But let's face it, doulas have been around a long time. Doulas have been doing their thing long before there were training programs, right? So we don't necessarily need credentials to be a doula, but it sure does help. And even though there isn't any kind of you know, regulations around doulas and licensure around doulas, unfortunately, most hospitals now will not let you come in without a certification. So even though you might have been doing this a long time, suddenly you will no longer be able to go in and do this with your clients unless you have some kind of credential. And so that's one of the other reasons why we're saying, you know, 18 months prior, get those evaluations in. They count too. All right, so when you pick a family, you could pick one now if you wanted. Self-paced, 18 months, that's what you get. 12 months for the E-classes, 18 months for the written work. You complete the assignments in person. If you sign up for the in-person, no, the in-person is really just the workshop. all the assignments, the reading and the written stuff, that's on your own. So you'll be able to, communicate with your mentor. You can work with the other people in the study group, but really the reading and the written stuff you do on your own. Any other questions, guys? These are good questions. These are great questions.
I'm a little confused. So with the self combo, is that like you just said, online by yourself, you're doing everything? So what would be the difference with the 1375 virtual and then the 1475 through the 1675 in person?
You want me to answer that, Anne?
Well, so the virtual, the in-person, let me put it this way. In-person would be like, we're holding a training in Atlanta, you show up in Atlanta, or we've got a training next month in Maryland. You show up in Maryland, you're at an in-person training with us in Maryland. If you can't come to Maryland, you can watch and participate in that training virtually. So you can be in the live virtual chat, like the live virtual room. You'll be on the wall in the training space where we're having the training. So you'll be with us, but you'll be there virtually. The self-study, the 975, that is where you're watching a pre-recorded workshop. You're not participating live in the moment. Does that make sense? And the virtual is 1275, and the in-person, I believe, for Maryland is 1475. So you just have to look at each workshop as they come up, because depending on where they are and what's happening, they may be more expensive. So like the New York ones are usually a little more. The Hawaii ones are a lot more. The Hawaii ones are usually 16. Sometimes they're a little less if they're in an area that we can do it a little bit cheaper. It really depends on our cost, what it costs us to host it and how cheap we can get it, and also, transportation for the trainers to get there. We try to budget and keep it as low as possible while still being able to, send our trainers home to their husbands with a little money. Because we would all do it, but our partners would not be happy about that.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I work full time and I'd like to do the full combo. What do you suggest that I enroll in?
You probably, unless you can get away for a weekend, which might be fun. If you can get away,
Weekend being Friday through Sunday?
yes. So if
Okay.
you can get away for a weekend and do a training in person, I would do that. If you can't get away for a weekend and do a training in person, then maybe try the virtual. But if having a specific set date and time is not going to work for you, then I would say do a self-study. Do the self-study program. That way you can plan it out, schedule it out at your time. You can do it after work hours or on the weekends or whatever works for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way that the recordings are for the workshop, it's broken down into 6 segments. So it's like a morning and an afternoon of all 3 days. So it's really easy to break it up into 6 separate, learning time periods. And they're each 3 to 4 hour time stretches. So if you could set aside a chunk of time, but also, let's say you only have an hour, watch an hour, come back and watch another hour, another time, so the self-study, it's easier to break that one down and to make it fit into your schedule. Sure.
Okay. I also noticed that you have in Ridgewood, Queens. It doesn't seem like it's a full combo. Is that a full combo? In November.
Oh, yes. So that will be a combo. Yeah, that will be labor, postpartum, and lactation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are you in Queens?
I am.
Where in Queens?
Fresh Meadows.
Are you serious? You're just down the street from me. I'm in Ridgewood, like I'm off of, I don't know if you know where Cypress and,
Yes.
you know where Cypress and, well, you know where the Aquifer is, or the Ridgewood, sorry, you know where Highland Park is?
Yes.
I'm super close to there.
Okay. I'm over by Utopia Parkway near St. John's.
Okay. Wow, you're my neighbor. How cool is that?
Yes, yes, yes.
Awesome. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I hope that I get to see you then.
Yes, of course. Thank
Okay,
you.
amazing. Cool. All right.
Jamila had a good question.
Yes. Let me see. After we are certified, how can we become trainers?
She wants to be one of us.
Awesome.
I love it.
All right. So stepping up to the next level. Okay. So that requires 2 years and at least 20 births. So basically, once you become you become certified, keep working, keep working as a doula, and then you start to, you can right away if you want to, but whenever you decide that, okay, I'm ready to start working toward my trainer status, you can start working on the trainer packet. And it's just like the certification process for becoming a certified doula, you become a certified trainer. But you have certain assignments, there's certain books. You can start doing that. I would say give it like 6 months after you start working as a certified doula, but definitely once you start getting doula births under your belt and you start feeling like, okay, I'm feeling more experienced, and you're starting to feel a little bit more, because the thing is, one of the principles that I really love is that we learn by teaching. And so I don't think you have to be a super, super expert in order to start teaching other people. And because we do this as a team, all of us are experts in something. All of us bring our expertise in some area. And so you might not be like super expert in everything, right? And you don't have to be, because you're joining a teaching team. And so what you know all about, we probably don't know all about, right? There's probably others, people out there that need your expertise that we can't bring because we don't have it. So that is one more level that I love. I love, love, love. So if that is something that you want to do, amazing. Please stay in touch. And hold on one second. Let me see. I see something about Spanish. We do not have a Spanish class, but you know what? I have been wanting this for the longest time. So, I mean, if you know anybody who might want to translate in exchange for their training, that could be a possibility. So hit me up. Let's see what we can do. How long does it usually take? Yep, 2 to 3 months is the normal timeline.
I have another question.
Sure.
Okay, so I don't want to sound pessimistic, but I am. So if I don't get to, after me doing the classes and I fail, how do I go about taking the course over again?
You will not fail. And you don't have to take the course over again. But you know what, Delia, if you feel like you want to, let's say you take the course and you finish all the coursework and everything, and you're just feeling nervous and you're like, I really want to start working with people, but I just still feel like I'm not quite there yet. Let us know. And it's not, you wouldn't be the first person to sit through another workshop. We haven't had a ton of those, but if you felt like that's something you wanted to do to help you gain confidence, I would have no problem with that. So, and even if you just popped into a virtual I'm almost done virtual contest. If you almost, if you popped into a virtual contest, if you popped into a virtual workshop, just to like sit through it and get a refresher, I don't see anything wrong with that. That would be no problem at all. And we would maybe a student.
In my mind frame, I have it like college. So I'm kind of like equating this to like grading system and.
No. So here's the thing. If after you've completed everything and you submit for your credentials, and it's happened where people don't submit things correctly, or we see their assignments and we're like, well, this isn't really answering the question the way we're looking for it. We give them feedback and we tell them, we needed to address this. So like, tell us more about this, or why don't you go and look at some statistics for this and tell us more about that. I sent an OB back one time. We had an OB. We had someone who was an OB from Venezuela. She was here. She couldn't work as an OB here because her license didn't transfer over. She was working on it. But in the meantime, she wanted to do doula work. Perfectly fine. But she answered one of the questions about home birth, saying that home birth was super dangerous and that you could never recommend home birth. And she was like super anti-home birth. So I was like, well, that's actually not very accurate. So I'm going to have you go back and I want you to do a little bit of research on home birth. And I want you to do a small essay on home birth statistics. And she turned around and, came back, and her whole mindset had changed. She was like, oh my gosh, I just, this research, and I found out that actually home births are considered safer. And, so she did the assignment and she learned and she was able to pass. But, so if there's errors or there's a philosophy coming through in one of your answers that we're like, well, I want to challenge you on this. Take a look at this and maybe, question yourself on this topic or whatever. We'll just give you an additional assignment to do. We're not going to say pass or fail. We're not going to say fail.
And is that within that same duration of time before okay.
Yeah. And you know what, if let's say you're at like 2 days before 18 months is up, we're not going to be like, well, you have 2 days to complete this assignment. We're going to work with you until you pass. We don't want, what's the point of failing you? Like, there's no point in failing you, right? So we want you to succeed. So we're going to strive with you to get you to that point so that you succeed, so that you pass, so that you're everything that you want to be, because that's the whole point of you doing this, Yeah.
Thank you. Because my background is in pediatrics, and I was a medical assistant for almost 20 years. So that's why I prefer to do the postpartum, because I work well with parents and their children. And that's just my background. That's why I had thought maybe the postpartum, but I might give the being in or labor, that's a little intense, but I might give it a chance.
You know what? You have a medical background.
Yes.
Yeah, but you know what? If you have a medical background and also you've worked with medical providers, you might be a really good asset to families who are in a medical setting and need someone to help facilitate communication, maybe explaining, medical terms to them. Like, that could be really a very good, part of your background that could be really useful to families that you're serving.
Yeah, that's exactly why I was thinking about becoming, because I'm on disability now, so I can't work in that hospital anymore. But like I said, I've been in pediatrics, liver transplant pediatrics, so I've done with very high crucial patients, and I've worked with just general pediatrics as well, so like colds and vaccines and stuff. But I have been that liaison between the doctors and what they're, and being a facilitator. So I just thought the postpartum would fit perfect for me.
Awesome. Yeah. And that's what it's all about, is really, I don't ever want to give anybody the impression that we create animosity in a birthing situation, because that's not what we're about at all. we're very much about creating teamwork and creating a cohesive birthing team, because you don't want there to be like this war zone when mom's in birth, you know, giving birth, right? But at the same time, sometimes she's navigating, you know, bad attitudes or negative vibes, and you being a person that understands kind of that whole scenario and that whole workflow and that just the environment, you know, of being in a hospital setting, it can make all the difference, you know, because there are doulas who go in with this warrior mindset. Like we joke about it and we call them birth avengers. You know, maybe they had a bad birth themselves, and so they go in thinking that they're superheroes and they're going to save the woman from, you know, or save the birthing person from their caregivers. And it's like, well, we have to remember, she chose to birth at this location. She chose to go with the group that's there to serve her, you know, but it's not, we're not there to create, you know, a confrontational scenario. We're there to help support her and smooth things over, facilitate communication, not create chaos, you know. And so we do our best to, as much as possible, help her to anticipate what's happening so that she can calmly and peacefully navigate what's going on. All right, well.
One last question, because I told her it was a really great question, and I said we were going to answer it. Then sorry. So the question was, how much is the pay and salary? And it's a non-answer answer, but I can tell you how to get that answer. Everybody's pay and salary is going to be different depending on where you're located. Like Anne, living in New York City, gets paid more than I do because I live in Florida, and the cost of living is much higher in New York City than it is here in Florida. I mean, we're going up there at this point, but that's a whole nother story. So what I would recommend you doing, shop it like you're shopping for a doula. Go on Google, go on Doula Match, go on the things, see where everybody is. And you're going to see a doula that's like $400, and you're going to see a doula that's like $2,800. You're going to see a majority right around like, say, $2,200. So you're going to be to the very upper end of that, upper middle between, you know, the I would say between the median where everybody is and very, very top. So that way you can kind of get a good idea as to what you will, because obviously that is important, because we all need to be, go away. I love you so much. She's like,
she's all up in your armpit.
I know. She's like, she needs to be touching me 100% of the time. She's the best. I really love her. But yeah, obviously that's an important question, and it's something going into any new business and or you know, any new venture or anything that you're going to be investing in. That's a really great question, and a lot of people do ask that. So no additional licenses are needed to work for yourself other than a business. Like you're going to have to file for like an LLC.
Yeah, so whatever business licenses are required in your state.
Yeah, I know you were.
And can you travel as a doula? Absolutely. Yes, I have done it. I had families that flew me. I was in Israel at one point. I was in San Francisco for a month. I was there for, we didn't know how long it was going to be before mom had her baby, but I was there for 1 month, and mom had her baby 1 week after I got there, and I was able to be there for 3 weeks postpartum, which was perfect for what that mom needed. And it's not typical, but you may have families who need you to travel with them. So,
Can you just reiterate back at the previous question about additional licensing?
Yeah.
I'm in New York City as well. So would I then have to apply for a permit, or?
No, so the only other thing that you need for New York is your business license. So however you file for your business license, if you want to be an LLC, sole proprietor, however you want to file for a business license here. And then obviously you're going to get your EIN, which is through your IRS tax code, whatever your tax ID number is going to be. That's it. And you can have liability insurance no matter where you live. You can have liability insurance. You don't have to have liability insurance. There's two sides of the coin. Some people say if you have liability insurance, you're more likely to be sued because there's money there to sue for. Some people say, don't have liability insurance because then you won't get sued because there's no money to be sued for. So it's if you are staying within your scope of practice, and you'll learn more about this as you get trained, but if you're staying within your scope of practice, you won't be sued because you're not doing anything that's suable, right? Because you're not doing any kind of clinical tasks. You're hopefully not doing anything that you would be held liable for damages. As far as other licenses or any other permits or anything like that, the only other kind of filing for anything is going to be the same across the board, and that is you don't have to have certifications in order to operate in your state. As far as a doula, you will need certifications for most hospitals. In order to enter the hospital, you will need to show your certification. Since before COVID, that wasn't necessarily the case, but since COVID, pretty much I have not heard of a hospital that's not requiring it at this point. How do you get into here's a question. How do you get into the hospital if you haven't finished your certification yet? How do you get into the hospital to do these evaluated births? Well, one thing that we offer that nobody else is offering is provisional certificates. So if you finish all your paperwork, you turn that in. Hillary's in charge of this, actually. So you're looking at the lady. She will provide you with a provisional certificate. It lasts 90 days. So time it well. You tell her what 90 days you want it to be for, and you can get two of them, two separate sections of 90 days. But those provisional certificates will get you into the hospital so that you can get your certification evaluated births done. Okay. Birth centers, home births, most of the time those do not require you to have a certification, but hospitals really pretty much across the board, it looks like now do. Licenses and stuff, we're not regulated by the state, we're not regulated federally, so you will not be required to have anything for that. But like any other business, you'll want to have some kind of business registration, and you'll want to make sure that you are paying taxes properly and correctly so that you don't get in trouble that way. All right, we're all gonna go because we've gone over time. It's supposed to be till 5:30, but I wanted to keep going because you guys had such great questions. But if you have any other questions, please let me know. You can always email us or call us. And Hillary, do you mind putting our phone number, the 803 number in there? You can always also use the website. There's a contact form at the bottom of the page on any of the pages of the website to ask us questions. And you'll either hear from me or Hillary usually on that. And, oh, you're very welcome. So happy to help. And if you guys need any help with payment plans or anything like that, please get in touch. Otherwise, if you wanted to utilize a payment plan, you can actually go ahead and go online and pay for the deposit, and Ruth will send out your payment plan automatically. It's super easy. You can independently handle that on your own, or you can contact us and do it through us too. Let us know if you need help. All right, have a great rest of your weekend, guys. Bye.